Hi, I'm Melissa, your free range psychic, and today I'm going to do a reading on Lindsey Graham. Everybody's asking what's going on with Lindsey. He used to be such uh, a much more temperate, moderate Republican, good friends with John McCain, bipartisan, um, uh, and now he's this diehard Trump supporter, and it's definitely falling on Trump's sword. So before I did this reading, I looked up some information on Lindsey. I was just really curious, and I found this article. It's called "This is How the Russians Got to Lindsey Graham." So it's a really well-researched article, and I went back on the internet, looked up other information just to corroborate it. So I thought I'd read some of it to you. And if you don't mind, and then I'll do the reading. Very interesting and informative. So this article is by Mark Belise, or yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it, Belisle, and it was written October 3rd, 2018. Clearly, Graham is in Trump's pocket. So how did he get there? And I'm skipping some of it. I'm just starting off with there. I'll put the link below. Some have suggested that Russia has compromised on Graham. I don't deny that's possible, but there is information in the public record that shows blatant financial conduit from the Kremlin and Russian oligarchs to Graham's coffers. The single largest donor to Lindsey Graham's doomed 26th presidential run. Does anybody remember that? I forgot that he ran for president in 2016. So this largest donor was Access Industries. The company paid $800,000 to Graham's Securities Strength PAC and $32,000 to Graham's campaign. Most of the other donors were conservative groups, hedge funds, and defense contractors, all typical fare. But Access Industries was unique, and it was his #1 supporter. Access Industries is a multinational conglomerate focused on natural resources and chemicals, media and telecommunications, technology and e-commerce, and real estate sectors worldwide, according to Bloomberg. That's a quote from Bloomberg. It is privately owned by its founder, Leonid Blavatnik, who was born a Russian citizen in Soviet Ukraine. He lives in London, and his company is based in New York City. According to Forbes, he is worth $17.8 billion, making him the 3rd richest person in the UK and the 27th richest person in the world. He's deeply tied to the Russian oligarchy and top-level power structure in at least 2 ways that connect him to the story of how Russia helped Trump become president. In 2013, Blavatnik made I didn't lose my place, sir. In 2013, Blavatnik made $7 billion selling his share in Russian-UK joint petroleum company TNK-BP. The buyer was Rosneft. That was after Russia, under the Vladimir Putin regime, nationalized Rosneft, making it a Russian state-owned asset. When the purchase was completed, Putin essentially became the wealthiest and most powerful oil baron in the world. So Blavatnik made Putin super powerful. Putin paid Blavatnik a cool $7 billion, and Blavatnik paid Lindsey Graham $832,000 when he ran for president against Trump. Were they covering all their bases by funding multiple candidates, or was Graham merely a foil, meant to crowd out the field to give Trump breathing room and then bow out when Trump took off? Was the enmity between Trump and Graham during the election all an act? The second connection is through Blavatnik's media holdings. Shortly after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Blavatnik and his fellow billionaire friend Viktor Vekselberg formed an investment group called Renova. Renova then joined with Alpha Group to form the conglomerate AAR Ventures. Alpha Group is a holding company privately owned by Russian and Israeli billionaire Mikhail Friedman. Christopher Steele's infamous M16 dossier on Trump featured Friedman prominently In 2017, Fortune argued that the dossier was believable because the dossier, and this is a quote, the dossier paints a picture of a long-standing symbiotic relationship between Alpha Group and the Russian leader. More recently, the dossier claims Alpha owners Mikhail Friedman and Pyotr Avin have provided Putin with valuable information through their own network of business contacts in the U.S., valued particularly because of the conflicting signals between Putin was getting from his diplomats and spies regarding the success of the alleged operation. Friedman's business contacts in the U.S. could include Blavatnik, since Exness Industries is based in New York. In 2016, Slate reported on how investigators looked through Trump's internet servers to find evidence that he had been hacked by Russia. Instead, they found an odd electronic relationship. One server set up by Trump in 2009 would only allow communications from a small number of other servers. The irregular pattern of server lookups actually resembled the pattern of human communication, or human conversations, that began during office hours in New York and then continued during office hours in Moscow. It dawned on researchers that this wasn't an attack, but a sustained relationship between a server registered to the Trump organization and two servers registered to an entity called Alpha Bank, owned by Alpha Group. So Blavatnik's support for Graham is a potential conduit of influence that would tie Graham to a Russian Trump supporter who was possibly carrying out discussions with Trump that were meant to be secret. Friedman also owns a controlling share of Vimpelcom. That Russian telecommunications company has large-scale operations in the Ukraine. It was in rapid decline when fighting broke out between Ukraine and Russia. However, Vimpelcom survived because it was bailed out with a huge investment made in 2014 by Renaissance Technologies. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Take it in a second. So guess who owns this company? Robert Mercer. He also owns the company formerly known as Cambridge Analytica. That is a notorious data company that illicitly acquired Facebook data on millions of users and used it to manipulate both the UK's Brexit referendum and the 2016 US presidential election. Mercer is also owner of Breitbart and suggested to Trump that he hire white nationalist Steve Bannon in the opening days of his presidency. To recap, the largest donation that Graham received in 2016 was from Blavatnik, who connects him to the Kremlin. Blavatnik's money connects him to a Russian oligarch who was apparently pinging Trump's secret server. It also connects him to the Russian, UK, American illegal data analytics and social media propaganda that helped get Trump elected. Far from being a legitimate Trump critic, Graham has been one of the offshoots of this democracy strangling vine of corrupt influence from the very beginning. Graham's ferocious defense of Kavanaugh needs to be viewed in this light. Trump nominated Kavanaugh originally because of Kavanaugh's history as a partisan hatchet man and his expansive view of a Republican president's executive power. But it could be that Trump isn't the only man who wants a Supreme Court vote in his pocket because he's worried about the Mueller investigation. Lindsey Graham might have something to hide too. It has been speculated that Graham is angling to be the next Attorney General of the United States if and when Trump fires Jeff Sessions. Well, that's come and gone. Poor Lindsey, he didn't get the position. I think he's still hoping for it, though. Maybe when Barr leaves, sooner, hopefully for Graham than later, according to Lindsey Graham's desires, I think, I'm assuming. In August, Graham seemed to be telegraphing his blessing for Trump to replace Sessions. He said that the new Attorney General would have to let Mueller finish his job without political interference. If Trump moves towards replacing Sessions, we should be very skeptical of this, if this is what Graham actually believes. Very prophetic article. It's so crazy that this information is out there, but we don't seem to know about it. Only through Rachel, and a few others. So I thought I know that I don't know about my reading skills in terms of reading to a public audience, but I just wanted to read some of that article because wow, oh wow. So it was interesting. I skimmed that article before I actually read it out loud here, and when I look back at my readings, I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's confirmation because some of it I actually didn't. I didn't actually pick up. So let's get on to the reading. Lindsey Graham. So the first card, and I swear I get this for all the Trump people. Oh, one thing I need to say is when I choose these cards, my spirit guides show them to me psychically, and I just fish them out of the deck and I ask them what these cards mean. So this is the subject card. Surprise, surprise, the devil. When doesn't it come up in some place? And usually, very quickly. So this is representing Lindsey. I asked my guides, well, what does it mean? And they said the devil represents the I want to say fact, but it represents that Lindsey has sold his soul to the devil outright. There's your man. So on the top is the Knight of Swords. Oh, that is Lindsey, isn't it? Right now, he is the Knight of Swords. If they made a tarot deck of all the different kind of political players right now in the government, which that would be awesome to see, he would be the Knight of Swords. So I'm going to be reading from my notes here because I do type them up because I want to remember what my guides tell me. Okay, so this is Lindsey in the attack mode. He's on the offensive. Why, I asked, why is this? They said he's doing this for Trump and the Russians. There's 6 reasons that they wanted to identify. Firstly, and we can see from that article, and I'm sure that if you Google this or research this information, I'm sure there's a lot of proof of this. Because he's bought and paid for, or if I shouldn't say proof, which I think there is, at least there's a lot of suggestive facts that lead up to one making the assumption. Okay. Because he's owned by, he's bought and paid for. Owned by Putin via Blavatnik and the other oligarchs. Because the next reason was that because there's major compromise on him. He was speculating, but my guys are saying there is a compromise on him. Of course, I'm just a psychic, not based on any fact that I really know, but I'm just telling you what they're telling me. So I asked them what that compromise was, and I don't know if I want to even say it because it's besmirching him. Kind of. I mean, if you're open-minded and free about your sexuality, maybe not, but I mean, I'm just going to say there's some stuff that went on video potentially that potentially happened in the UK, but I don't think I'm gonna say what it is. Not right now anyway. Maybe somebody can get it out of me some other time. But there's compromise on him, and it's of a sexual nature. So the third one is that he's been involved in money laundering. Here I typed out, I think anyone who takes money from the Russian oligarchs is somehow going to be involved in money laundering down the line. I'm going to skip out numbering them because I think I was trying to write out 6 reasons, but I think I lost the numbering. I'm just going to read out what I have here. My guides were saying that he might also be, he was working with the Russians to overthrow the American government, not just through his own campaign, but his involvement with the GOP and their relationship as a whole with Russia, that he was a part of that. So another reason is illegal campaign contributions. Another reason might be assisting in obstruction of justice. Another reason might be being a messenger or courier for Russia. So that's interesting, that last one, because I actually didn't pick that up in that article I just read until I just read it aloud to you, and then they were inferring that. And my guides had already told me that was going on. So that's interesting. So there's a lot of reasons, and maybe more that we don't know, but there's just so many um, like vines or tendrils that kind of tie him to the octopus that is um, Russia and um, the oligarchs and this whole whoever else is involved in this whole kind of plot to wrest our democracy from us, and that he's part of that. Um, and I think that I want to tie together a little bit more. Um, oh, there is more too. There's a whole other paragraph. Okay, so there's another reason: fear of retribution from Trump and his family. So that if he if Lindsey um, stops being this Knight of Swords and actually starts being critical of Trump, he's terrified that Trump is going to then destroy his political career, which is very realistic because that's what Trump does, right? And other GOP members, when the GOP individuals try to kind of break away from this control and speak their mind or say something critical. So he's frightened of that. Um, he also he wants to be Attorney General. Um, Even though Barr, he was really disappointed, by the way, when Barr was appointed. He's really angry about it, but he's still hoping that that's going to be in front of him, and that Barr won't last very long. So they've said that this is also a means to an end. It's just theatrics right now to him, and he's playing a part. Um, all these rants are just theatrics. So he doesn't really mean them. He's just trying to do a really good job to please his master. And then the last thing they said was his desire for power might be even greater than his desire for money, as opposed to Mitch McConnell. I think, and I will do reading on him, who I think his desire for money might be greater than anything. But he's also motivated by fear of losing all his money, and he's also motivated by fear of humiliation and embarrassment and his reputation. So those things are what's behind him turning into this character, the Knight of Swords, and playing it with all his might. And this is his best performance, Knight of Swords. He is this character right now. He's playing it for all it's worth. So in the recent past, this is Nine of Wands. This was an interesting explanation when I asked my guides. They said, notice this soldier, he's on his knees, and it's like he's in supplication, and he's holding his wand. In the Rider-Waite deck, it's different. It's somebody standing on higher ground, and he's or no, it's not. I think that's the Seven of Wands. I think the Nine of Wands is this person standing in defiance with all these other wands around him, and he's holding his ground. But this knight isn't. This knight is kneeling, and so my guide said that this represents him in supplication to Trump. He's holding out his sword, his energy. He's serving his master, and really in proxy serving the devil. So, or Trump is a proxy for the devil. So, but he supplicated himself to his overlord. That's what that card means. In the below card is the Eight of Pentacles, and this card is this is Lindsey. He is owned by these 8 pentacles. These are the donors, the oligarchs, the various companies like I believe Boeing and Lockheed um, that are funding him, and he is totally owned by them, and he is doing their work and working very diligently and hard to produce for them. That is his relationship. So my candle's about to go out, but that's all right. The Ten of Swords is Lindsey in the future. So this wasn't quite what I thought it was going to mean. I thought, oh yeah, this is like the other cards, the other readings I've done when they've gotten this card where, you know, they're gonna, you know, the house is gonna hold them, their feet to their fire, and you know, they're, you know, spells disaster for them. Everything's gonna come out. But what my guide said is this card stands for, this is Lindsey under these swords, but these swords are the Russians, the oligarchs. And yeah, he's under threat in the near future, under threat by the Russians. And they're really, oh yeah, they're really pressuring Lindsey to compromise himself on their behalf. And this has, my guide said, this has something to do with the sanctions. To really pressuring him to use his influence in the Senate to get the sanctions lifted against Russia. So the clarifying card is death. Not looking too good after this card. But so death is, I don't know. We'll see if it comes true or not. But what I heard was that this is his career, that he's going to lose the election. I think he's running in 2020, the end of his career. And then I had that upside down. It's hard to tell when the hangman's upside down, because the hangman is upside down, but I think I had it like that in the picture. Or maybe not, because I put the cards the other way for me to be able to see them. I took a photograph of them at the beginning for you. So this is Lindsey Graham, terminally caught in a web. There's no way out. After all the money he's taken and all the compromise on him and everything, there's no way out for him. And I thought that was really sad, actually. So that is my reading on Lindsey Graham. And I will I'll post a link to this article that I read underneath this video. Just thought it was really fascinating. So I did ask my guides for a card for us, and the card that they chose was Light. This card comes from the Angels of Light card by Diana Cooper. So I'll read it to us. Light illuminates darkness and gloom, bringing hope and inspiration. Ask the angels to fill you with more light, for it contains spiritual information and knowledge. These are keys to the universe and bring love and peace, as well as unlocking the wisdom within you. As your light becomes stronger and clearer, you will find clarity and purpose. You will radiate brightly and become a beacon, reminding others of the divine help available. Angel wisdom suggests you ask the angels to ignite and strengthen the divine flame within you. And the affirmation is, I am light. My candle's still burning, yay. I think we're going to make it to the end of the video with my candle lit. So I do personal readings, and I put in the information below, past lives, present, future. I just ask my spirit guides, and I try to do my best to be a channel for you to be able to tell you what they're trying to communicate. Also, if you like my channel, if you enjoyed this reading, I should say, like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, all my wonderful subscribers, and I love your comments so much, and you're wonderful people. Thank you. And I am going to do another reading very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day, night, whatever time this finds you at. So take care.